What's tonight, for? If this team get beat, we in the final four.
He's a poor man LeBron, bro, when it comes to trades. It's like, you guys look at, KD went to go
down 3 games, it's a quick sweep.
Not cap if you want to. Cap if you want to. Cap if you want to.
You know what's in me.
When I said that they let James Harden do the same thing and let Kevin Durant do the same thing, and they're essentially letting James Harden do the same thing again.
I said Kevin Durant should have took a 50-50 blame, and Westbrook should have took a 50-50 blame too.
MJ fade away with the eyes closed.
There is no bust down today because it's a PVT takeover. Your boy is in the building. Welcome, DJ Micah B. It's your boy Moo. I'm the host today. No Troy, no Boo-Wop. We are keeping Troy in our thoughts because he's in the hospital right now dealing with some back pain. So Troy, when you tune in, shout out to you, brother. We love you. We're gonna see you soon. All right, big dog. Now
we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a PVT takeover of basket to basket. Y'all know how it normally is. When Troy is gone and I show up, the show gets real nasty because I disagree with every damn thing, but whatever. I'm not your host today, though. I am not your host. I'm just in the background. I'm gonna sit back and let Moo do his thing, and we're gonna talk some basketball. Basketball season right around the corner, preseason right around the corner. And maybe if Moo's okay with this, just maybe we'll talk a little football. Just maybe.
Yeah, just maybe. Just maybe. We might have a little time to get into that. But as you guys know, this is primarily a basketball show, so we are going to talk a lot of hoop today. Got a WNBA game going on right now. Los Angeles Sparks against the Phoenix Mercury. Mercury is currently up right now. Second quarter, 4:50 to go. So we'll keep an eye on that game. But as of right now, we're going to start off with a little bit of small news and then work our way up into the bigger news. Josh Giddy, after being in multiple trade talks, being on the market for a few months, has finally got a solid payday from Chicago Bulls. $100 million. DJ, how we feel about
that? I'm not gonna lie to you. OKC lost a good one. I thoroughly believe OKC lost a good one. I think he deserves every bit of the money he's getting, though. Josh Giddey is one of those players that play their role, and they are an unsung hero. He's a guy that can get hot, and when he gets hot, he's hot. He looks like a superstar when he gets hot. And I'm not saying he's a superstar. I'm just saying it's the same thing with somebody like J.R. Smith. When they get hot and it's raining, they get hot and it's raining. Do I like him moving to Chicago? No, not really. Do I like it for the Chicago Bulls? No, not really. I don't think this turns the stone on anything for the Chicago Bulls. I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I still don't think they're a good team. But I think this is a way to at least be competitive for he got a 4-year deal, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's at least a way to get competitive for the next 4 years. You at least put out a decent product. Maybe you find somebody in the draft. Maybe you trade Kobe White to get higher draft position for your next superstar. I don't know. I don't know what Chicago's plan is. And it's no disrespect to Giddy, but he doesn't necessarily move the needle for the Bulls in a total rebuild. So I don't know what the signing was for. But if I was Josh Giddey, hell yeah, I'm taking the money. Okay, $100 million, 4 years. I'm down with that. I'll take it. Sign. Boom. We're good.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not gonna lie to you. The way I'm feeling about this deal is, first and foremost, I thought Josh Giddey was gonna be traded. I'm not even gonna lie. I thought he was gonna be on the move again. Going into that deal with Chicago early on, I thought that he wasn't gonna stay there for the long run. Anyway, I thought he was going to be used as probably a solid trading piece. But, I mean, obviously Chicago maybe feels like they can't or they didn't find a suitable trade partner for him and probably feel like they can use him to build for the future. You do have a solid player in Kobe White, which I know a lot of people are speculating that he also might be on the move, but who's to say that they don't also lock him down as well? We all know that Vucevic is still there, so they obviously still have some really good inside help. It's really just the wings for Chicago for me. I'm not even gonna lie. It's if they can get some solid 3-and-D players and just get a really solid second unit, I think they can have something special. Not saying that they can be contenders or whatever the case may be, but I do think that they can be competitive if they put the right pieces around. And who's to say that Josh Giddey isn't one of those pieces? Now, I understand the narrative around Josh Giddey. We understand how he had the situation a few years back or last year. But like I said, obviously the Bulls feel like there's something in him that they can use to grow the franchise and extend the franchise with young players. It's just, I guess the question for me is, with the current draft that they put together, and I ain't gonna lie, Willie, I wish Willie was here because I know how he loves and / hates to talk about his Chicago Bulls. But with the current draft, I just want to know how Josh kind of fits into that program, into that mode, because at this point in time, he is a veteran, right? Like he's not looked at as the typical young player that's kind of coming in and trying to learn the offense and learn a program. He's been there for a year, I guess, or been there for multiple years now. He's going to be looked at as a veteran to kind of teach the young guys. So for me, it's what kind of role do they expect him to play? What kind of role is he expected to step into? And how successful will he be in that role?
Yeah, that's kind of the part that throws me off. I don't know how he necessarily fits into the future. The last star player the Bulls drafted was, I don't want people to take this the wrong way because a lot of people be like, man, that's Derrick Rose. No, the last star player they drafted was Jimmy Butler. He might not have been a superstar for them because he had to learn his way through the NBA, but he was definitely a superstar on the Miami Heat, and the Philadelphia 76ers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. But more importantly, the Miami Heat, he got a championship twice. Yeah, I don't know what this whole thing is about. I mean, personally, if you just want to be competitive, you'll always be in the middle of the pack until somebody is willing to trade a player who has superstar potential. What you're looking for right now is what the Rockets did when they got James Harden. It's like, oh, he got the potential, but can he live up to it? And James Harden lived up to his potential as a superstar player. I know somebody from Houston on the other side. Well, James Harden ain't never won the champ. Not all great players win championships.
That's just true.
So you can't sit there and tell me Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Allen Iverson, and James Harden aren't all-time greats. Hell, Carmelo Anthony, who just went into the Hall of Fame. Dwight Howard, who just went into the Hall of Fame. You can't. So I don't know what Giddy fits in the Bulls' long-term plans. Maybe they think he could become Lauri Markkanen. I don't know. I feel like that's probably his peak on his potential, though. So if Lauri Markkanen is his peak on his potential, that's pretty good. Might not be franchise player worthy, but that's pretty good.
Now, the thing about this, and this is the reason why I questioned it, right, is because like I said, with the Bulls' current draft, how I just want to know what their motive is, right? And looking at, is it to be more competitive? Is it to look a lot better? Is it to develop some young talent to see what you have? Because looking at their draft, they took a big and they took a forward, both from both international players, right? Both of them they play basketball. They played basketball overseas. So I don't know. To me, it seems like, I know a lot of people are trying to follow that international recipe to where you can get or find a gym in the international leagues or overseas, then they'll be able to change the franchise. Luka, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, et cetera. But I think what they're trying to do, because they have those two particular players are bigs, or I guess going to be looked at or going to be playing more in the front court, right? So you can have Giddy in the backcourt with somebody like a Kobe White. And I guess if you were to acquire somebody else in a free market or in a trade, I know Malik Beasley, he's been cleared, so a lot of people have been looking at him. I see the kind of motive and where they're going, the recipe, and locking in somebody like a Josh Giddey who can spread the floor. If you can get him to step up his defense just a little bit, I think you'll have a really solid young player. Obviously not a really strong shooter, but like I said, can space the floor, really solid passer, can see the floor really well. He's big for a guard, so he can attack the basket and absorb some of that contact. So I kind of see where they're going with it as far as the signing goes. And if you're going to pair him with the draftees going younger, it's just, for me, I want to know what the motive is as far as the Bulls go. Like, are we looking to be more competitive? Are we looking to develop something for some trade assets in the future to be more competitive in the future? Because we know we have a young star in Kobe White. Like, I just want to know what direction the Bulls are going in, because they haven't had a surefire direction in a while.
Yeah, since Derrick Rose.
Essentially, yeah. So I guess that's definitely a story that we got to keep our eye on. It's gonna be interesting to see how the Bulls turn around this year. We all know that, like DJ Michael B said, the NBA offseason isn't that long at all. So we'll definitely be getting some basketball here soon. This is the beautiful part about the fall. We have all sports on all at once. So moving on to this particular article, Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley has been in the tabloids for the past few days. Apparently, he appeared on the Bill Simmons podcast, where he has some choice words.
Great podcast, by the way.
It is actually a really good podcast. I suggest if you haven't watched it or if you haven't tuned in, please go tune in. It's actually a really great podcast. But Charles Barkley has some very interesting comments about one LeBron James. Charles Barkley, blames LeBron James and the current generation of NBA players for causing the league to create second apron rules. The second apron, for people that don't know, is a list of penalties that are triggered when a team crosses the spending threshold. That will be important later when we talk about Kawhi and the Steve Ballmer case. So everybody just please tune into that and remember that. According to Barkley, it exists because of LeBron and other stars wanting to team up with each other wanting to team up with each other, right? He alludes to LeBron leaving Cleveland to go to Miami, teaming up with one D Wade, and then coming back to Cleveland, teaming up with a D Wade and Derrick Rose, and then leaving and then going to the Lakers and teaming up with AD, et cetera, et cetera. That sparked a response from one Richard Jefferson, and kind of how we were talking about backstage, how super teams aren't new. People have done this all the time, especially when it comes to free agents. They go and they link up with their friends or their homies, and they try to go ahead and get one off for the last few years of their career. But my thing is, and I guess my question is, the first one would be, whose fault is it for super teams?
Well, before I answer this question, I would just like to say, right message, wrong messenger, because as I remember, Charles Barkley came to Houston to team up with Clyde Drexler and Hakeem, and then Charles and Hakeem recruited Scottie Pippen to make and they did take the Jazz to 6 games, and then John Stockton hit the shot heard around the world to win the series, and this and that. So right message, wrong person delivering the message. But to go back to what you were saying, who started it? I just want everybody to know super teams started way before LeBron even jumped to join teams in Miami, right? And like I said in backstage move, LeBron didn't start super teams. LeBron started free agents linking up to make a super team.
While in their prime, because that's important, guys.
To answer the question though, the person that started super teams, and people are going to be like, man, you're crazy. And then some people are going to be like, there's no way it could be the Boston Celtics, but Boston Celtics started super teams. The Boston Celtics did. And everybody on this podcast right now was like, the 08 Boston Celtics aren't a super team. I'm not talking about the 08 Boston Celtics. I'm talking about the Celtics that won 11 out of 12 titles with Bill Russell. The Celtics that had 4 Hall of Famers for 8 straight years on a team when they won 8 straight titles, and people going, it was only 8 teams in the league. I don't care. It was 8 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, my bad. It was 4 of them on that team. And then by the time Bill Russell was in his peak in his career, there were 5 Hall of Famers on that team. Like, it's them. It's the Celtics that started it way back in the 60s when people was like, well, we can't beat them. But you know, the crazy part is, like I said, back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, free agent wasn't a thing. You was just stuck on a team who you got drafted with.
True.
So super teams were always there. It's just that now it's popularized for you guys to link up in the offseason and be like, my contract is out this year, your contract is out this year. Let's orchestrate when all of our contracts go out at the same time so we can join one team together that got space to sign all 3 of us. That, I agree, is LeBron's doing. But even more so, when people want to blame LeBron, you know who I blame, Moo? Told you backstage. And I told you backstage and you told me backstage. We both agree. It's the Los Angeles Lakers' fault. 03, 04. Gary Payton, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, and Shaq were all on the team together. Then we had some years when they weren't on the team together. Okay. Then you got KG, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. And people say that's a super team. I disagree, because that is 3 stars that were out their prime. Say what you want to, but Ray Allen's prime was them last 2 years in Milwaukee and the first 2 years in Seattle. Big facts. That's when he was averaging over 20 a game. I know some of y'all are surprised by me saying that's when he averaged, and y'all don't think y'all consider Ray Allen a spot up shooter. But let me tell y'all something about Mr. Raynard Allen. I don't even know if Raynard is his name. It just popped in my head. Tell you something about Mr. Ray Allen himself. I'm not saying Steph ain't cold, because Steph is cold. But before there was a Steph, there was a Ray Allen in Milwaukee who shot lights out off the dribble from mid-range. I'm telling you, who shot lights out from 3 off the dribble in Seattle. It was him and Rashard Lewis on them teams in Seattle. Ray Allen was cold. Ray Allen was a top 5 shooting guard in the league. Good.
True.
Moon knows. So then we go from Boston having a super team to Miami having a super team, and then we go from Miami to Golden State. The first with the I don't consider the original Golden State team that won 70 games a super team. They were just a really good team. They had a superstar player, a complimentary player, and a very, very good star player in Draymond. So to recount, you got a superstar, an all-star, and a great player, all on the same team.
Fair.
So I don't consider that a super team. I just don't. Did LeBron lose? Yes. Granted, Kyrie and Kevin Love are out, but hey, Moo, tell me if I'm lying. You can only play who they put in front of you.
Yeah. That's it. Do you want to know? First of all, I think you're correct. I'm not gonna lie to you, because if you're looking at the history of the Boston Celtics and how they acquired a lot of their players that were part of the championship teams were not drafted as Boston Celtics. So, and you can start with one of the notorious ones, right? Bill Russell. He was not drafted by the Boston Celtics. He was drafted by the St. Louis Hawks at the time. Red Auerbach paid for that. He's like, yeah, nah, I need that. He knew that I think it was the Rochester Royals. He knew that they couldn't afford him, right? According to the story, they couldn't afford him because he wanted a $25,000 signing bonus. The Royals couldn't afford that, so they decided they were going to draft somebody else who was going to be cheaper. The St. Louis Hawks owned the second pick, and they were really infatuated with the 6-time All-Star center that the Celtics already had. So they agreed it in trading, basically in the trading side, right? We'll draft Bill Russell and we'll trade him to you if you give us your center, and that's how that worked, right? So building super teams has been a thing forever, and then to compete with them, right? You have the Lakers and them with the Showtime Lakers and James Worthy, Magic, and then Kareem comes over and
Michael Cooper,
right? Michael Cooper, and then like you just. This is how this works, right? It's always
and don't forget, before then, I want to remind y'all, before then, they paid Wilt Chamberlain to team with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor.
He was a Laker. That's how he got his championship.
Which is basically the modern day Kobe, Glenn Rice, Shaq.
That's how he got his championship when he linked up with the other best players in the league. Boom, championship. Because we're not going to act like Jerry West was one of the best players in the league. Like
the logo.
Come on now. Like the super teams have always been the problem. I think where he went wrong at, right, and where a lot of people try to blame LeBron, but it's not LeBron's fault. Where a lot of people go wrong at when it comes to the super team conversation is the money, right? And that's where the whole second apron came, when you have guys that want to pay or that want to play together, but then they realize that not everybody can get the same bag.
I think and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is what it is. Adam Silver's NBA, right? Adam Silver's NBA, and for those of you out there that think Scottie Pippen is a superstar, okay, whatever. I don't. But nonetheless, the only reason why the Bulls were able to keep him is because he signed a 8-year contract for $1.8 million to secure his family, which allowed Jordan to keep getting pay increases without Scottie taking up the salary cap too. And so that shit is out the door now. You cannot sign an 8-year contract in the NBA anymore. That's kind of like the Scottie Pippen rule. So that's one thing. Second thing is with the second apron, which I really do like, it does spread the talent around. And it makes it fair. And I think a lot of people forget your salary cap depends on your revenue from your stadium. Hence, Los Angeles Lakers sucked when Kobe was there for about 2 or 3 years, but Kobe kept on putting butts in the seat. And if they wanted to go over the salary cap and go into the luxury cap, they could, because they could afford it. This is why the second apron makes sense. But this is why I also said it should be a hard salary cap in today's NBA. Because if it was a hard salary cap, you get one superstar player, a complimentary player, and you get a bunch of role players. Well, good luck.
That's kind of what this second apron is, and why a lot of people was complaining about it, because you don't get the same opportunities to go out and just spend willy-nilly a whole bunch of money and sign all of these star great players, because now there's going to be penalties for it. Now there's going to be repercussions and consequences. Like, you're not just gonna, you know what I mean? You're not just going to go out and pair up a Devin Booker and a Kevin Durant again. Right? Because if Devin wants to max and Kev wants to max, who's getting it? Because you can't give it to them both. You can't give it to them both now, because you have to stay under that. You have to stay under that luxury tax, and you have to stay under the second apron rules now. So who's going to get the bag? And then when you sign somebody else, when you want to bring in another prominent player to help your team win, they can't get no massive bag. So that's kind of where I see it went wrong, is that everybody thought that, oh yeah, well, we can just team up and win, and yeah, no, everything's gonna be conky dory. But then when it's time to get paid, y'all realize that everybody can't get the same bag, because now you're gonna put your team or the organization in a bad spot. So when it comes back around the next time, now somebody's getting traded. Somebody's a free agent. Somebody's going to walk because y'all can't get the same bag.
I love it. Fuck that. I don't give a damn with nobody. Let me tell y'all why I love this shit so much. It forces you to go back to getting your ass in the gym and mastering your craft like Kobe told all y'all asses to. There's no, well, I'm a star, but I'm not this person, so I can go team up with him. He get a max, I get slightly under the max. We get another player that's slightly under the max. All I gotta do is carry this much. No. Ain't no more of that. We are back to straight duos in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Literally back to duos. Mm-hmm. I fucking love it because you and your teammate have to decide, are we willing to work for this or no? Because the only way we can win it is if we work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to see prime Damian Lillard and prime CJ McCollum in the NBA for the next 5 years. Yeah. They would terrorize a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or prime Brandon Roy and a prime LaMarcus Aldridge. When it's only duos, would love to see it.
That's scary. Hold on there. That's scary. That's real scary. But I think to build on your point, right? It's basically the NBA's way of saying, like, y'all can't buy y'all championships no more. There's no way you can go out and be like, oh yeah, well, if we're this close or we're like this far away from a championship, and we know this guy is going to take us way over the mark, instead of we having a guy who's going to make us competitive to the point to where it can go either way. But we're going to go out and we're going to get the craziest superstar to where it's going to take us way over the mark, to where now it seems like nobody can really rock with us, right? And I know that's ironic for me to say, looking at this logo in the back, but it's real, right? And it's the reason why they're going through what they're going through right now, right? Trying to find somebody who they can pair. But it's like, when you have somebody who's making the money Steph's making, when you have somebody who's making the money Draymond's making, and then you got to pay Jimmy, and then the young guys is coming up. It's like there's not enough money, and they can't keep going over the luxury tax because they're going to keep getting penalties. And at some point in time, those penalties are going to add up, and it's going to be a whole bunch of unhappy campers. So I don't think that you can strictly blame LeBron as far as it being his fault or it being he's something that he created, right? Because
LeBron just played by the rules.
Yeah, like DJ Michael B pointed out earlier, Charles Barkley did the same thing. Scottie Pippen did the same thing. Karl Malone, Gary Payton.
I'm telling you now, and I don't care how anybody else on this podcast feel, I think you'll agree with me, right? If this rule would have came into effect around 2008, 2009, whatever it is, right? LeBron would have no championships. D Wade would, but LeBron wouldn't. Because what I like about the second apron, I don't know, I'm pretty sure Charles has the same thing to say that I have to say about it because I didn't hear his comments. But what I like about the second apron rule is you got to force great players to be great every night. Now, you have no nights off. Zero. You got to bring your A game every night. No more excuses on why you couldn't get it done with a stacked team. No more excuses about anything. What Stephen A. Smith say? You got to get it done.
Mm-hmm. You want to know what I think? I think for the first time, the NBA is actually listening to the fans. Do you remember that time period where the Warriors were really dominant and everybody was like, boys, basketball is boring. We already know who's going to win, et cetera, blah, 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 right? With the load management rule, the luxury tax, you have now the second apron and all of its penalties. Bro, the league is basically saying, like, we're giving the fans what they want. Real basketball. Like, true basketball is coming back, right? And we talked about this during the finals, after the finals, like the 3-point shot, right? On how most of the teams that made that made the finals or the playoffs were of the lowest or average of percentage as far as 3-pointers, right? A lot of people lived and died by the mid range. A lot of people lived and died by offensive sets, right? So it's like true basketball is starting to come back, and I don't think a lot of these like young guys are starting to. I don't think they're starting to catch on. I think they're still realize. I think they still think that it's the old ways, and because a lot of the players, and because they can, because of the most recent lockout, and the presidents of the CBA, like I think that they think that it's more ran or more controlled by them, but I think this is a way of Adam Silver, like, nah, y'all thought this was, and then this was kind of a writing on the wall kind of moment. I'm not gonna lie. I can't remember who it was, but I seen it on a podcast a few years back, and they said this was gonna happen. They literally said, like, yeah, nah, the owners of the NBA, like, they're not necessarily happy, right? Because they've been throwing away a lot of fucking money on a lot of players, and they haven't really had the results to prove so. So
the Ben Simmons rule.
Yeah. So when it comes to like these super teams and these contracts and paying these guys this money, that's why you see a lot of guys with these contract disputes, because these teams aren't just going to fork over 200, 300, 400 fucking $1 million.
But Moo, let me ask you a question, right? I know that people say we're paying a lot of money to this guy, and this guy, and it's not working out in their favor. But who's wrong here? Obviously, I think in Ben Simmons' case, Ben Simmons is wrong. But there's a lot of examples where players don't live up to their pay grade, but owners gave them the money expecting them to live up to that. So who's really wrong here between the players or the owners? And the owners are complaining, making the players play for it. But there's many instances where the owners and the GM pick who's getting paid and do the wrong contract.
That's true.
They give the money to the wrong person.
That's true. And a lot of them overpay. Which I'm not even gonna lie. Honestly, I'm gonna say the owners, because looking at the Klay Thompson situation, right? A lot of people felt like Klay should have been paid for what he did in the past, right? And while that's fair, right? A lot of the owners of the NBA feel like because of all these new rules and regulations, they can't just up and fork over that money for what somebody did in the past, right? It needs to be justified in some way, shape, or form.
Right. It needs to be what are you going to do for me later now?
Exactly. Like if I'm going to pay you this money, yeah, it's a thank you for what you did in the past, but at the same time, it's a can I get that again though? Because I got to justify spending this money. Because if I can't justify spending this money, then we just went over the sales tax or the luxury tax for no fucking reason, and now we're going to face all the penalties from the second apron. So like, if a championship isn't the trade-off here, then I just can't do it, right? And I think that's the owner's fault to an extent, bro, because back in the day, owners did used to pay for what you did. They did used to pay for, the homage of a player, right? Thank you for all your hard work, right? Oh, we know you're towards the end of your career, and we know you probably don't have that much left in the gas tank, but here's $150 million. Here's $175 million deal. And you only got 2 more years left, right? But it's like now you can't really do that because you can't justify that, bro. You can't justify that to the league. You can't justify that to the fans, because they're gonna look at that money and be like, okay, you paid him all this money for what? Now, like, what do we get out of it besides a notable player with a notable name, obviously, but we didn't get there's no healthy trade-off there. So I think that's the biggest factor for me. I'm not going to sit up here and say it's all on LeBron. I know a lot of the times that we get people talk about sports and they talk about basketball and everything, it's just so easy to blame LeBron, but I don't think it's LeBron's fault. I think he just did what everybody else did. He just did it smarter.
I think that's facts.
If I was to give LeBron credit for anything, because I don't give LeBron credit for much, but he did what everybody else did. He just did it smarter because he understood the time period in which him and D-Wade's career was and Chris Bosh's and decided to capitalize on that.
The crazy part about the whole super team thing, it was supposed to be Melo instead of Chris Bosh.
Yeah. That's the cool part about it. Now, can you imagine that?
Yeah, I actually could.
It's same.
I can imagine so much so I'm gonna sit here and tell you it wasn't gonna work.
I think we had an episode about that.
It wasn't gonna work.
I think we had an episode about that.
What you would have had was D-Wade playing point guard, LeBron probably playing 2, Melo playing 3 because Melo don't like to play 4. Or you would have had D-Wade playing shooting guard, Chalmers playing point guard. Then you got Melo at 3, LeBron at 4, and LeBron don't like playing 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say LeBron don't like playing 4 though.
I'm gonna go to my grave saying this, and people don't like this when I say it, but I don't care. Chris Bosh was the most immovable piece in that big 3 in Miami.
And a lot of people don't want to admit this, right? But he had the least amount of ego going into it. He had the least amount of ego going into it. At the end of the day, he knew what he had to sacrifice. He knew what he was coming into. He knew that at the end of the day, I don't have to be the superstar like I was in Toronto. I don't have to be the main guy. I can sit back and kick it, and I can defer to those 2 guys, right? That's a match made in heaven. Now, if you have a Melo, who's somebody who a lot of people talk about his ego and talk about his pride and stuff like that, and type of player he is, yeah, him and LeBron and D-Wade are great friends, but we don't know how that works on court dynamic. So, I think that situation was a match made in heaven. I think that was the perfect player at the time to complement those 2 players. And then obviously you had Ray Allen and Mike Miller, et cetera, et cetera.
Ray Allen, Mike Miller, Shane Battier, Juwan Howard, James Jones. Here's what I'll say, man. You know what? The Heat teams were interesting because the years they went back-to-back, they changed a lot. Even them going to 3 straight finals, which goes under the radar. People don't remember that because they just be like, oh, well, they won 2 and they lost to Dallas. I'll be like, yeah, they won 3 straight years in a row. Matter of fact, they went 4 straight years in a row.
They did, actually. Yep. Because they lost the second one to the Spurs, like back-to-back.
Yep. So I feel like all the teams were competitive enough to win. They just couldn't put it together. Dirk and JJ Barea dominated them the first year. Shout out to JJ Barea, who did his shit. Second year the Heat won. KD and Westbrook played their ass off with James Harden, and that was the end of that story with them 3.
Yeah,
because James Harden came over the next year. Then the following year, they played the Spurs. They beat the Spurs, so they won back-to-back. And in the following year, they played the Spurs again, and I remember, Moo, you could ask Jeremy this. Jeremy was like, basketball season starting off, who you got? And I sat there and told Jeremy, I was like, we're going to go through a whole season of basketball just to replay the fucking finals. And Jeremy was like, so you think the Spurs going back? And I'm like, yes. They didn't get worse. They got better. Kawhi Leonard got another year under himself, and Kawhi Leonard will soon be probably the best player in basketball. That's exactly what I told Jeremy because I saw the potential. And from the finals the year before, I saw it. He was only averaging 9 point whatever it was points during the season, but averaged double digits in the playoffs. He averaged like, okay, he's nice. And I was like, okay, they got a chance. They definitely got a chance, and I was right. So, yeah, I mean,
I'm glad you said that. I'm very glad you said that because that's the perfect transition into our next subject before we get up out of here. Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. They might be in a little bit of trouble.
Not a little bit, a lot.
A lot of bit of trouble. Actually, let's go ahead and correct that. A lot of bit of trouble. So, according to reports, the NBA has opened an official investigation on Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers owners organization and Steve Ballmer, due to, hold on, let me find it. All right. Yep. Okay. So Kawhi Leonard signed a $28 million endorsement deal for a no-show job with a fraudulent tree company funded by $50 million or funded $50 million from Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, according to documents obtained by Pablo Torre. Now, a lot of people are speculating that this was the Clippers or Steve Ballmer's way to extend or pay Kawhi Leonard while staying under the luxury cap, the luxury tax, and not getting hit with those second apron penalties. Now, if that is such the case, we are looking at a major problem for the Clippers. Now, Steve Ballmer has come out and said that he is not involved in this whatsoever. That he does not know how his name really got attached to it and where the likes of the funds came from. Let me go ahead and pull up this official statement. Yeah, Clippers are in the Clippers are in the news for a lot as of right now. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But yes, so Steve Ballmer comes on and he talks about the details of the affiliation with the aspiration in the wake of the report. So, like I said, by Pablo Torre, Kawhi Leonard was paid for a no-show job, and it was funded by Steve Ballmer. Steve has said he'd want the league to investigate and take it seriously. Last Thursday, in his first interview since the podcast, the NBA has since said it will launch an investigation into whether Steve Ballmer and the Clippers violated the league rules because Kawhi Leonard accepted a $28 million endorsement from Aspiration, a now bankrupt green banking company in which Ballmer had invested in. The salary cap. Hold on, because it just left. It says the salary cap circumvention rules are important to the league, and I want the league to investigate. Steve Ballmer said. Ballmer said Aspiration asked him to introduce it to Leonard, but denied that he had knowledge of the endorsement contracts the sides eventually signed or that he directed the company to do so. He said that the introduction came in November 2021, 3 months after the Clippers had agreed to a 4-year, $173 million extension with Kawhi Leonard, who just tore a ligament in his knee during the team's first year in the Western Conference Finals. 2 months earlier, in September 2021, the Clippers announced a $300 million partnership with Aspiration, which included a sponsorship in the team's new arena and its on-jersey patch. Ballmer added that Aspiration also wanted the naming rights to the arena and offered more than Intuit, which was eventually selected. We were done with Kawhi. We were done with Aspiration. The deals were all locked in, Ballmer said. And then they did a request to be introduced to Kawhi. Under the rules, we can introduce our sponsors to our athletes. We just can't be involved. We made an introduction that was early November. Ballmer added that he had been reviewing his interaction with the company as part of his team's cooperation. And last month, the co-founder, Joe Sandberg, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud for defrauding investors and lending of more than $248 million. So basically what I'm gathering from this is there was an under-the-table deal done with Kawhi Leonard and this now defunct or now I'm assuming green company that is Aspiration, who also put their name in for the bidding of the new stadium that is now Intuit. So basically, what I'm assuming is they did an under the deal signing with Kawhi Leonard, and because the company has Steve Ballmer's name attached to it, everybody assumed, or the NBA assumed, or the reports assumed that Steve Ballmer had some way, shape, or form of involvement. But the NBA is investigating, and it seems like to me, from what I've just read, and from what, like I said, from what I kind of gathered and dissected, that Steve Ballmer doesn't have anything to do with it directly. It's really just the aspiration trying to get their way into an either a Kawhi Leonard sponsorship or a Clippers sponsorship or a partnership with the Clippers or Kawhi Leonard, because that seemed like it was the main motive there was to meet Kawhi and try to figure out a way to work with him. And I guess they may have figured out a way. It's just I don't think that they went about it the right way or the legal way. So it might end up causing some trouble for the Clippers and Steve Ballmer later down in the future. But DJ, with all of that information, how we feeling?
I feel perfectly fine. I don't think nothing's going to come out about this. Even though Steve Ballmer's name is attached, I think people forget millionaires invest in shit all the time that don't got nothing to do with them. Shark Tank is the perfect example. You got people in the background that's investing. They don't say, hey, Kevin Hart invested in my product, this, and that, whatever. It's just like, hey, my product is A1. They do this, and this. You don't know. You never know who's investing into it. It seemed like Steve Ballmer was an investor in this company that signed Kawhi Leonard to this deal. I can see how one can draw the conclusion that it was a fraud scheme and this, and that for Steve Ballmer to be able to pay him. But I just, it's hard for me to see foul play in this when Steve Ballmer is one of the greatest investors in our generation. Or of last generation, technically, because, you know, we're like 30, 31 or whatever. Steve Ballmer's in his 60s or 50s. But I don't think there's foul play here. I just think Steve Ballmer invested a lot into that company. That company wanted Kawhi Leonard to be their face because he's one of the best players in the world, and that's that. I feel like this case will be closed rather quickly. And I also feel like there's no wrong play on Kawhi Leonard's part or his uncle's part. Trust me when I tell y'all, black people are paranoid for shit like that. If there was some shady shit, Uncle Dennis wouldn't have got Kawhi Leonard to sign that deal. Moo, am I lying?
This is true.
We don't want no fraud, no nothing. So I think this will blow over rather quickly. I don't think they cheated in signing Kawhi Leonard so they could have money to sign Paul George and trade away Shai Gilgeous. I don't believe none of that. I think this story is overblown just because it involves Kawhi, and a lot of it is clickbait. It's a lot of clickbait stuff in here. So once the jury reaches their verdict, I think Kawhi's verdict is going to be innocent.
Well, this is the thing that's, I guess, that everybody's kind of talking about. Everybody's really speculating that, for one, that Steve Ballmer has something to do with it because of his ownership in the company. But he has come out on record as saying that he barely owned 3% of the company. And because the company was a fraudulent company, he really doesn't understand, or he really doesn't think that anybody really truly owns a company. Man, what's up? How you doing, big dog? But he doesn't understand or doesn't know why they would do a deal with Kawhi and not have anybody else involved. Shout out to DJ in his classes.
This nigga, oh my god.
But
you can hop on though. You can hop on though.
But Ballmer is on record in saying that these guys are fraudulent people. They've known for fraud. They've been busted for fraud. So it's not surprised that they would try to do something like this. But a lot of people, like I said, are speculating or they're talking about Kawhi or bringing up his name because Kawhi's name has and his uncle's name has been attached in numerous occasions to different kind of contracts or different kind of things that have to do with money. So when it had his name attached to it and they seen the amount of money that it was, of course, everybody thought or everybody's thinking that this has to do with some type of foul play. But to me, I just think it's this company's last kind of ditch effort to try to get a deal with Kawhi Leonard or try to get a deal with the Clippers because, like I said, they were in the bidding wars for the name on the stadium, and they actually offered more money. The Clippers shareholders and the owner went with the Intuit Dome. So obviously they may feel some kind of bad blood or some salty feelings about that. But like I said, I don't think that because Steve has been very, very he's been very transparent about this whole situation. He's been on he's come on TV, been on podcasts, he's been doing interviews. It's not like he's hiding or he went to another country or he's avoiding interviews, avoiding the cameras. Like he's been very transparent, he's been very open, he's been very talkative. He answers all kind of questions in regards to the situation. He's opening an investigation instead of trying to close it off, instead of trying to run away from it. He's welcoming it. So to me, it doesn't seem like there's any foul play on his part or even on the Clippers' part, honestly, because it's not like they have the power to just throw around money like that, especially without Steve Ballmer's clearance. So when it comes to the company and aspiration, I think it more has to do with them. And then when you look at the past, that I guess the owner or the CEO has been involved with some shady stuff as of recently, and the company as a whole turns out to be a fraudulent company. It's no surprise that this is happening, and it's just unfortunate that the Clippers name Kawhi and Steve Ballmer's name is attached to it. But I don't expect snakes to not bite, if that makes sense. If somebody is going to try to fuck you over, they're never not going to try to fuck you over. And I think, like I said, this is kind of their last ditch effort to try to get over on the Clippers and Steve Ballmer and Kawhi and try to work out on kind of like a deal to try to get them back in the runnings or try to get them up and running again, because all it takes is one commercial to pop and boom, everybody's using the product. So yeah, honestly, this is true. But we'll be keeping an eye on that because I know that the NBA and their investigation team isn't going to let that die at all. We have an update as of right now from the WNBA before we get these final thoughts and get out of here. The game I'm currently watching right now, the Mercury are up. Or actually, the Sparks just took the lead at the end of the third, 63-62. We have the Valkyries up by 10 against the Storm at the end of the third, 60-50, and the Sky and the Aces, 60-42. That is closing out towards the end of the third. The Aces are up. DJ, final thoughts, man.
Final thoughts. It's always nice to come back and cook on basket to basket. Y'all know this is where I started with from the sidelines, other than gentlemen's talk. While LeBron's short Melo Hall of Fame induction, but not D Wade. Another topic for another day, Mel. Okay.
Yeah, I think we understand why though.
Well, it's a really simple answer to a really simple question. D Wade is a 3-time champion. Melo isn't, but that's neither here nor there. Final thoughts tonight though is it was fun to come back, cook basket to basket. Of course, tomorrow we got gentlemen's talk on a Wednesday. I sure was about to say PVT, but tomorrow is Wednesday. I'm so used to basket being on Mondays. Also, My thoughts to my boy Troy. Get well. We miss you over here. We ready for you to come back. Hopefully on Basket in the upcoming weeks, you will see me a lot more, depending on what time the show starts. I'm trying to come in here and cook Troy like I used to all the time. I mean, I'm just saying what I'm saying. Boo Wop too. If Boo Wop, if I was you, I understand, man. Just run. Only person I never cooked on here was Moo, and the reason why I didn't cook Moo on here is because Moo is very good at what the fuck he does. Sorry to tell you. If you want to see me and Moo going at it, just tune in. Gentlemen's Talk Wednesday, PVT Thursday. PVT's on a hiatus right now, but we'll get back to it soon. Maybe rebrand. Who knows? Friday, best damn football show, period, on the internet. That is Inside the Huddle, and that is coined by me. Every now and then I'll jump in and I'll cook Mel sorry ass. But you know, and then Mondays we're right back here on Basket to Basket. I really hope Mel comments, but he probably not going to give me the time of day tonight. But yeah, Moo, final thoughts.
Hey man, another great show. We appreciate everybody that tuned in and watched. We appreciate everybody that tuned in and watched us tonight. Appreciate everybody in the comments. Shout out to my boy Mel. See you on Friday, big dog. Hopefully on Thursday we can get something going on that day. But like my boy said, make sure you tune in to Gentlemen's Talk tomorrow. We got another crazy show for you. PVT is on a small hiatus, but we do got some crazy topics and some crazy guests coming. So make sure you guys tune in for that. You already know what it is. Football season, we here, we live. It's been a crazy start of the season already, and I feel like it's only going to get crazier. So everybody, stay tuned in, stay locked in. We'll keep bringing on this dope ass content. We can catch y'all later. Peace.